he comes again off the turnover, and he slams it home! Outstanding girls basketball matchup between the team on top to the
Hello and welcome to Unscripted with SkoodSports. Well, we are through our NFL predictions. We are less than 48 hours away from the first game of the NFL season on recording of this video. And we are ready to begin a new segment here on Unscripted. That is our weekly game picks. NFL picks with SkoodSports. With betting now legalized throughout the United States, more and more casinos are opening up betting halls for people to go to and bet legally on game day, not just in Vegas, but all throughout the United States. And so why not get a little bit of action here on Unscripted? Now, I'm not a big bettor. I don't like to bet a whole lot. I used to bet more, but once I lost $300 with Michael Phelps in the 2012 Summer Olympics on I believe it was the butterfly, which is supposed to be his best event. He ended up losing by an inch after leading the entire race. He lost, I believe, to Ryan Lochte or somebody like that. I lost $300 when I fully anticipated winning throughout the duration of the race. I put betting aside up until the postseason last year, when I bet on the Eagles to win the Super Bowl before the postseason even started, bet on them to win every game in the postseason, and ended up making over $500 just betting on the Birds. So let's begin with the Birds and Thursday night's battle against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, of course, last year were favored on the road in the divisional round, a game I won money on by betting on the Eagles, a 15-10 victory for Philadelphia. It'll be a rematch with Nick Foles again under center for the Birds, and Doug Peterson's squad looking to come out strong to begin the 2018 year. Now, I predicted all off-season and in my predictions for Unscripted that the Eagles would lose this game. Philadelphia, as you see, is a 2-point favorite against their visiting foes, the Atlanta Falcons, so therefore I can't backtrack on that. I see the Eagles losing this game. With Sunday, we have a lot of early afternoon games on the first Sunday of the season, and win the game beginning by the final score, Pittsburgh at Cleveland 20-17. A lot of changes for the Browns in the offseason, both the free agency and the draft. Tyrod Taylor expected to start under center for Cleveland, despite suffering a wrist injury against the Eagles in Week 3 of the preseason. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh may be without Le'Veon Bell, and with James Conner behind Ben Roethlisberger, who's under center, I still see the Steelers covering the 4-point spread. Pittsburgh will win this game by the final score of 27-20 and end up moving to 1-0 by covering the 4-point spread in Week 1. The third matchup here in our Week 1 predictions, the San Francisco 49ers at the Minnesota Vikings. Great matchup. Minnesota unveiling their brand new almost $100 million quarterback in Kirk Cousins at home against Jimmy Garoppolo, who is yet to lose a regular season game. I think that trend will end on Sunday, as I see Minnesota winning this game, but I don't have enough faith in the Vikings against a good San Francisco team to cover the 6 points. I see Minnesota winning a tight battle, and I don't see them covering, so I would definitely hammer San Francisco +6, as I see the Vikings winning this one something like 20-17, but I'll go with 23-20. The Vikings win this one is my prediction for their Week 1 battle against the 49ers. Next up, we have Andrew Luck's return to the NFL. After missing all of 2017, the former Stanford Cardinal quarterback is back under center for Frank Reich and the Colts as they play host to the Cincinnati Bengals. Indianapolis is a 3-point favorite at home, which lends itself to suggest that Vegas thinks these are pretty even teams. For those who don't know, 3 points is usually what you get for being a home team. So if you're favored by 3 on a neutral field, Vegas likely would think that this would be an even matchup. I don't like the Bengals this year. I'm not a big Andy Dalton fan, definitely not a Marvin Lewis fan. I think that this is an aging team that, despite addressing a few of their offensive line needs, still has a few leaks up front, and I see Indianapolis winning this one going away. The final score in my eyes, Indianapolis 27, Cincinnati 13, as the Colts cover easily that 3-point spread. Next up, we have the Baltimore Ravens playing host to the Buffalo Bills. This is a bit of a revenge game of sorts for the Ravens, who of course lost to Cincinnati in Week 17 of last year on a last-second Tyler Boyd touchdown catch, which caused them to miss the playoffs and got Buffalo into the playoffs thanks to the Bills winning in Week 17. As you see, Baltimore is a 7-point favorite at home against Buffalo. Of course, the Bills are a team that underwent a lot of changes in the offseason despite making the playoffs for the first time since 1999. They got rid of their starting quarterback, Tyrod Taylor. A lot of changes on both sides of the ball. Nathan Peterman is going to start for the Bills, the second-year quarterback who, of course, threw 5 picks in his first start last year. I don't see this turning out well for Buffalo. The Ravens made a lot of changes offensively to boost their receiving core, picking up such players as John Brown and Michael Crabtree to fill out their receiving core. Alex Collins really came on last year as a bona fide starting running back. So I see Baltimore winning this one, and I see them covering the 7-point spread. My final score prediction, Baltimore 24, Buffalo 10 from the land of Baltimore, Queen City, Baltimore, Maryland. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars at the New York Giants. Interesting matchup here as Jacksonville, of course, lost a lot of playmakers in the offseason. Allen Robinson, who missed most of last year with a knee injury, is gone. Allen Hurns is gone. Marquise Lee tore his knee up in preseason, so a lot of young receivers for Blake Bortles. Leonard Fournette is back, as is their stellar defense. Meanwhile, for the Giants, Eli Manning again under center for another year. He has a new back in Saquon Barkley. A lot of good playmakers around Eli, but despite signing Nate Solder in their offseason, their offensive line is still very leaky, and I think that's going to be trouble for the Giants, who are 3-point home dogs to Jacksonville in Week 1. I think that spread's a little low. I think Jacksonville should be a 5 or 6 point favorite. I think they're getting a little disrespected here by Vegas, and I see Jacksonville covering the 3-point spread pretty easily. My final score prediction in this one, the Jacksonville Jaguars 31, the New York Giants 17, as Jacksonville easily covers the 3-point spread on the road. 3 more 1 p.m. games on Sunday, beginning with an NFC South battle as Tampa Bay heads to New Orleans. The Saints are an overwhelming 9.5-point favorite at home in this game, largely, I'm sure, due to the fact that Jameis Winston is not playing due to being suspended the first 3 games of the year. Ryan Fitzpatrick, a veteran quarterback, will be under center for Tampa Bay, who is a 9.5-point dog to New Orleans. Tampa Bay always seems to play New Orleans tough, even when they're having down years. During my predictions, I predicted Tampa to only win 1 game. I don't see them winning this one, but I do see them giving New Orleans a bit of trouble in this game, so I don't see the Saints covering the 9.5 points, as I have New Orleans winning this one by the final score of 30-23, as Tampa covers 9.5 on the road. Next up, a great battle. Deshaun Watson and Tom Brady battling in Week 1 from Foxborough as the Patriots host the Texans. New England is a 6.5-point favorite at home in this game, despite a lot of losses and insecurity at the wide receiver position. I mean, other than Chris Hogan, there's not a whole lot of proven talent at wide receiver. Philip Dorsett expected to get a lion's share of the targets now that Julian Edelman is suspended and the team has gotten rid of the rest of the veteran scrap heaps they brought in the offseason. Meanwhile, Houston brings Deshaun Watson back after his ACL injury last year, and they are expected to be poised to make a run at the AFC South title. In the end, I see New England winning this game at home, but I don't see them covering 6.5 points. I see Houston being the pick here, plus 6.5, as New England wins this one 24-21. And Houston, I think, is a good bet to cover plus 6.5 in this game. And wrapping up the 1 p.m. battles, we have Marcus Mariota and the Tennessee Titans at Ryan Tannehill and the Miami Dolphins. A new coaching staff in Tennessee is Mike Vrabel, who's quite familiar with playing down in Miami from his days with the Patriots, is now the man on the sideline for a Tennessee Titans team that also has brand new uniforms. As you see on your screen, some sharp digs for Tennessee as they get set to take on a Miami team that also has new uniforms. As you also see on your screen, a slight change in their uniforms, a color scheme change for the Miami Dolphins. In this one, the Tennessee Titans are a 1.5-point road favorite. I think that's pretty low. Honestly, I know Tennessee went through a lot of changes and people are unsure what direction they're going, but I'm pretty sure what direction Miami's going, and that's nowhere under Adam Gase, especially with Ryan Tannehill as the quarterback. I picked Tennessee to win this game and to cover the 1.5 points. Final score prediction, Tennessee 20, Miami 14, as the Tennessee Titans cover in Week 1 with a road win. Moving on to the late Sunday games, we begin with an AFC West battle as Pat Mahomes makes his first career start against the Los Angeles Chargers and Phillip Rivers from StubHub Center in LA. This is a 3-point Chargers spread as they are favored to win by a field goal, and I like the Chargers to win by a field goal. So I actually think this is going to push. If I have to side with either LA or Kansas City, I'm going to go with the Chargers. I like what they did this offseason. I like the growth that they have as the targets with Mike Williams going into his second year. Melvin Gordon, a really good running back. And I think while Pat Mahomes is going to have a good year for the Chiefs, he may get off to a bit of a slow start. I'll take the Chargers to cover 3 points, and I'll say that the Chargers win this one 21-17 and move to 1-0 in 2018. Next up, we have Denver and Seattle. Denver at home as they play at the unnamed stadium at Mile High after Sports Authority went bankrupt. I guess it's just called Denver Broncos Field at Mile High now. Either way, I see Denver winning this game, but not covering the 3-point spread you see on your screen. Denver, a lot of new changes, both offensively and defensively. Of course, Case Keenum's at quarterback. Bradley Chubb, a very good top 5 pick, going and rushing the quarterback at the opposite side from Von Miller. And the problem with Seattle is their offensive line. It was terrible last year. It's terrible again this year. I don't like this game for them because they're going against that great pass rush of the Denver Broncos. So in the end, in this game, I like Denver to win, but I like Seattle to cover. So Seattle +3 with Denver winning 20-19. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Carolina Panthers from down in Charlotte. Carolina a 3-point favorite at home, a very evenly matched battle according to Vegas. It's going to be interesting to see what Dallas can do with their new wide receiving core led by Allen Hurns and Michael Gallup, a young receiver supplementing Hurns and catching passes from Dak Prescott. Don't forget, no more Jason Witten, who retired after last year. I like Carolina to win this game, and I like them to cover the 3-point spread at home. The final score in my eyes, Carolina 27, Dallas 17. I like the battle. It's even matched, but with Carolina at home and Dallas's uncertainty with their wide receiving core and at tight end, I think there's a little more certainty for the Panthers on offense and certainly on defense. So I'll go with Carolina to win by 10 and cover a 3-point spread. Wrapping up our Sunday afternoon predictions, the final game of the 4:15, 4:25 time frame, the Washington Redskins at the Arizona Cardinals. Brand new quarterbacks for both of these teams. Sam Bradford is under center for the Cards and Alex Smith under center for the Redskins. And a brand new stadium name down there in Arizona. It's no longer University of Phoenix Stadium. State Farm has purchased naming rights to the stadium in Glendale, Arizona, so it'll now be State Farm Stadium, and we'll see if Aaron Rodgers in the future gets do a few discount double checks in the end zone there from Glendale, Arizona. This is a pick'em, as Vegas thinks that both these teams are evenly matched and does not give it a spread, so a pick'em. What that means for those betting novices is there's no line. You just pick a winner or a loser. Pick'em, if you will. That's why it's called that. In this one, you of course have Sam Bradford, the new quarterback for the Cardinals. David Johnson is back. He's expected to get a new contract for Arizona, keep him in the desert long term. Meanwhile, the Redskins lost Darius Geis, a high draft pick running back out of LSU. They are going to go with Adrian Peterson, and from what we saw last year when AP was on Arizona, didn't look to have much left in the tank. You could argue this is a revenge game for AP. I don't think it really is, because Arizona picked him up off the scrap heap and gave him a chance and played him the entire season and relied on him during a down year in the final year under Bruce Arians before their head coach retired. In the end, I like Arizona at home in this game to beat the Redskins merely because they're at home. I think it's a very evenly matched battle, and I see Arizona winning a close one. The final score, the Cardinals 27, the Redskins 24, as Arizona wraps up our Sunday predictions by covering and winning at home to win this one, 27-24. In prime time, Sunday Night Football, we have the Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers. What a battle this is, as Green Bay and Chicago duel from Lambeau Field. Chicago, of course, a lot of changes in the offseason as they built around Mitch Trubisky on offense by acquiring Allen Robinson via free agency and Trey Burton as well from the Philadelphia Eagles, also in free agency. Of course, the big move they made last week, acquiring Khalil Mack for 2 first-round picks from the Oakland Raiders, is certain to help out Chicago defensively. And I think that despite only joining the team last week, I think he's going to have a big impact in Week 1. Green Bay does not have a great offensive line, though they have a great quarterback. And I think Mack's going to get to the quarterback 1 or 2 times in prime time and show the Raiders and John Gruden just how stupid they were to trade him. But I don't think it'll be enough to win the game. I think that Green Bay will win this one outright, but I don't think that they will cover 7.5 points. I see Green Bay winning by about 6 or 7. Final score, Green Bay 33, Chicago 27. Chicago covers 7.5 points. And on Monday night, night. Couple of battles in the Monday night doubleheader on ESPN. We begin with the 7:10 game as Detroit will host the New York Jets. Matt Patricia, very familiar with the Jets offense, the new coach of the Detroit Lions. His team is 6.5-point favorite against Sam Darnold and the Jets. Of course, the former USC quarterback, a top 5 pick of the Jets last April, and getting the debut and start in his first NFL game. I like the Lions to win this one. I like them to cover the 6.5 at home. Detroit will win this one pretty easily, I think. Darnold's going to have some growing pains, just as he did at USC in his freshman and sophomore years. I see Detroit winning this one by the final score of 34-17, and in the end, it not even being very close, as Detroit will easily cover 6.5 points. And finally, wrapping up our Week 1 NFL picks against the spread, the late game on Monday night as the Los Angeles Rams head to Oakland to take on John Gruden and the Raiders. It's going to be an interesting event to see the reaction at Oakland Alameda County Coliseum, as the Raiders, of course, already were moving to Vegas before they hired John Gruden and unceremoniously traded their best player in Khalil Mack last week. And now the Raiders fans have to feel even more betrayed than they already felt by Mark Davis, having got rid of Khalil Mack for draft picks that they won't even get to experience because they'll be in Vegas by the time those draft picks eventually are selected and mature. The Rams are a 4-point favorite on the road, which seems really low, and I think it is really low. I think the Rams are going to win this one outright and cover that 4 points easily. I see Los Angeles winning this game by the final score of 28-10. And I don't see Oakland having much of a chance. My concern with the Raiders this year is now with the loss of Mack, your defense is really devoid of big-time playmakers, and your offense was already going to be neutered not only by the fact that they struggled at times last year, their offensive line is aging, but John Gruden's going back to this West Coast offense that was exceptional in the late 90s, early 2000s when he was a Raiders coach and a Bucs coach, but really wasn't successful in the last few years, and certainly wasn't successful in his last few years in Tampa Bay. So I don't think Oakland's going to have a very good year, and they better hope that John Gruden knows what he's doing, since they gave him 10 years and $100 million, but then couldn't afford to pay Khalil Mack. But in this one, I see the Rams easily winning, going away against the Oakland Raiders, 28-10. So when you look back, here are all my predictions for Week 1, circled on your screen. Those are SkoodSports betting lines. I mean, I've had success betting over the past year or so if you want to take my advice, definitely do so with caution. I am no Brandon Lang of Matthew McConaughey, Two for the Money, Al Pacino movie fame, but I have had success betting football in the past. My lock of the week, going into Week 1, it was a tough call, but I am going to go with that right there. The Los Angeles Rams -4 at Oakland. I think that is a very low spread for a Rams team that, while they do have a lot of new faces, both on offense and defense, is way more talented than the Oakland Raiders, and quite frankly, might have the coaching advantage too, with Sean McVay, really an innovative coach, a young coach, going against the grizzled old veteran in John Gruden. So my lock of the week, the Rams over the Oakland Raiders -4. That'll wrap things up from here. Good night, good luck, and good sports. I'm John Skoudris. This has been Unscripted with SkoodSports.
Comes again off the turnover.